Welcome to another RSR. Tonight I'm reviewing Canada 0, Ivory Coast 0, 4-5 on penalties. Ivory Coast wins the match on penalties, or wins in penalties, but Canada gets enough points. 4 points will top the group for the Canadian Shield. Canada wins the Canadian Shield. Just getting to penalties won them that trophy. They got the pity point. They won the trophy. Canada are the inaugural Canadian Shield champions. This game, was it pretty? No. Were Ivory Coast the better team at times? Yes. Were they very tough? Yes. Did Canada rotate? Yes. Did Ivory Coast play their best 11? Yeah. And they still couldn't score. They won on penalties, but Canada, solid defensive game at best. Lost on penalties. You shouldn't really put a 20-year-old defender up to the 6th penalty once you get to sudden death, but okay. Either way, Canada, I thought they had a solid actual 90-minute match with Ivory Coast. They grew into the game as it went. Ivory Coast started better, but Canada grew into it as they did, especially with a rotated 11, and defended well enough to get a 0-0 draw. Attacking-wise, it was better when David and Buchanan came on. Jebison has a strong foot. His touch is heavy. Let's be real. Halftime 0-0. Full-time 0-0. Talking about the game, I will say Daniel Jebison had his moments, but the dude has a heavy touch. Building up the play, not the best. Kyle Larin still sucks for Canada. Let's be real. Like, under Jesse Marsh, Kyle Larin still sucks for Canada. Let's be real. Promise David should start at striker with Jonathan David at the Gold Cup. That's what we know right now. Or David Jebison at the very least. Jonathan and Daniel Jebison at the very least. Kyle Larin should have nothing to do with being on the starting lineup for the Gold Cup or at the World Cup. It's not good enough for him. This system does not fit him. He playing as a deep-lying number 9 doesn't fit. Jebison, his touch is too heavy, but at least he had his moments trying to build up the play. He tried. Jaden Nelson, he looked solid, but Buchanan's better. Schaufelberg, better, but he didn't get a chance to play, which is fair. But they completely rotated. And I understand it because the next game, the first Gold Cup game is the 17th. It's a week. I don't think you had to rotate, but you just played a couple of days ago. So it's probably more because you played a couple of days ago than you're playing in a week. I think, yeah, it makes sense. But overall, Canada, defensively, were solid. Like, I have no complaints about the defensive performance. None. Offensively, I think we know who our best offensive players are after this, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I can't wait to see more Promise David up top for Canada. Let's be real. Can't wait. With that being said, offensively, I have complaints, but they still didn't lose. So, well, at least the actual score. Yeah, they lost the shootout, but they won the trophy. They drew the 90 minutes, which is what won them the trophy. So you know what? Fair play. Penalty shootout, Leagues Cup rules. Draw a pity point, win the shootout, you get an extra point. That was what Ivory Coast did, but it only got them to 2 points. Canada won the Canadian Shield. Ivory Coast were solid, I have to say. They were the better team at times. I think them winning on penalties is fair. On the night, that is fair. Because I think at times Ivory Coast were the team who pressed harder. They were very tough. They were good at building up play. They had shots. Ivory Coast are a good damn team. They won the AFCON for a reason. Were they lucky at times? Yeah, but they won the AFCON for a reason. Whether you want to say it's chaos or not, they won it for a reason. They're a good team. They're a very good team. And, yeah, a 0-0 draw, that's fair. With a rotated Canada side where they, as long as they got a result, they won the trophy, which is a friendly trophy anyway. But still, especially after the New Zealand game, I think a lot of their decisions were probably made after Ukraine beat them. It wouldn't be surprising. I mean, Kyle Larin, we knew he was going to start and captain, which that was a bad idea. But I'm more worried about Atakubi. Like, some of the injuries, that's what I'm more worried about, because Atakubi being out would really be bad for Canada. Larea looked fine. Atakubi, I hope he wasn't hurt that badly. Other than that, Canada played solidly. Ivory Coast was slightly the better team, I think, and they deserved to win the shootout. I think fairness, the way this game went, I think the shootout win is a fair result for Ivory Coast. And a fair result, the penalty shootout loss for Canada. Penalty shootout. Canada's penalty takers. Jonathan David. He starts it, takes a shot, scores, sends Sangare the other way. David slots it home 1-0. Clement Akpa takes a shot, slots it home past Dane St. Clair 1-1. Matthew Chouanier takes a shot. Sangare goes the right way, but it pops in under the hands, off the hands, and in. Matthew Chouanier 2-1. Morty Gabane misses the penalty. Way wide. Ugly penalty. Still 2-1. Derek Cornelius slots it home. Short run up down the middle. 3-1. Jeremy Boga bangs it home past Dane St. Clair to make it 3-2. Tani Aluashe, foot save by Sangare. It is 3-2. Emmanuel Latelaf ties it up, takes the shot, bangs it home. The Atlanta man ties it up 3-3. Ishmael Kone scores his penalty. Short run up, rolls it in, beats Sangare 4-3. Franck Kessier scores to make it 4-4, bangs it home. Keeps Ivory Coast alive. We go to sudden death. Luc de Fougereau steps up, and it gets saved. Sangare goes the right way, gets saved. Luc de Fougereau misses his penalty. It's 4-4. And Mohamed Diomande takes a shot, just beats Dane St. Clair barely, but it's in. 4-5. There's your winning penalty for Ivory Coast. The African champions win the game on penalties. Finish with 2 points on this Canadian Shield table, but they deserve it. After penalties, 0-0, 0-4, 0-0 on the night, 4-5 on penalties. Canada loses on penalties. Solid performance. Ivory Coast was still the slightly better team, I think. Full-time stats are as follows. 8 shots to 9, 0 shots on goal to 1, 44% possession to 56% possession, 301 pass to 380, 74% pass accuracy to 83% pass accuracy, 21 fouls to 20, 2 offside to 2, 5 yellow cards to 4, 0 red cards to 0, 3 corners to 3. Ivory Coast, again, I thought were the slightly better team tonight. I think they did control moments tonight more than Canada did. I think Canada could have been better, but they chose to rotate. They chose to play for the draw and play for the point, play for the pity point, and see what happens after that. But the pity point won them the tournament. I think they chose to play for the draw. I think they were happy with the Ukraine win, get a draw, which is good for the FIFA ranking. Penalty shootout doesn't matter in that case. I think Ivory Coast were the slightly better team. They were going for it all. A win probably wouldn't have been enough with how this game went to win this tournament, but everybody finishing on 3 points would have mean Canada would have won. So, there you go. But Ivory Coast was going for it. Canada was trying to be more careful, be more defensive, try to work on that side of their game, and they were pretty good at that. My God, I don't want to see Kyle Aaron play for Canada ever again, though. I could live without that, for sure. Daniel Jebison, fix the touch. Soften your touch a little bit if you're going to build up the play instead of be a striker. And I think we're better off. Nelson, he was solid again. Offensively, team looked better when David and Buchanan were on. So, you live with it. Canada won the Canadian Shield. They lifted a trophy tonight, even if it doesn't really mean anything. But they lifted a trophy. Now go lift the Gold Cup, because I said win a trophy this year. I didn't mean the Canadian Shield. I meant the Nations League or Gold Cup. You lost the Nations League, so now it's all about the Gold Cup, which you probably have the best team on paper going there. So, do what you got to do. Speaking of that, man of the match. Well, first of all, man of the match, I'm going to go with Franck Kessier. Stepped up and sent it to sudden death And that basically won it for Ivory Coast because Jesse Marsh thought, hey, let's send up a 20-year-old defender to take a penalty. You saw it on his face. He was going to miss. Like, let's be real. So, yeah, no. Franck Kessié, man of the match. With that being said, tomorrow we'll have our Gold Cup predictions. The 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup predictions will come out tomorrow. The prediction video will come out tomorrow. No live stream tomorrow, at least on my channel. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll guest. I don't know. We'll see if I guess somewhere. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that, but on my channel, just the Gold Cup predictions video. I will see you tomorrow for that. Thursday, we have the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying round 3 draw live, and then we will recap round 2, review round 2, and recap the round 3 draw on a video after that stream on Thursday. So just a video tomorrow, a live stream, a short live stream, and a video Thursday. Friday, my Club World Cup predictions. Saturday, we get going for the Club World Cup and the Gold Cup. So it's going to be crazy soon. Really crazy. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Ryan and I'm out. Peace. Congratulations, Canada, on winning the Canadian Shield. Ivory Coast, good game. Peace.